So what I decided to do is I might as well go and show you the cuts that need to be made on the kit so you've got a better idea. Rather than trying to align things up in tiny little drill holes, I'm just going to use this cutting wheel on the Dremel here and go for it, because that's the kind of guy I am. Not always neat, usually sloppy. Sometimes it works against me, sometimes not. So let's go ahead and do it. So the first piece we'll do, let's get the saucer out of the way here. As I mentioned, you just need a tiny little hole in the central area. So, obviously that isn't going to work, and this is just barely going to get the angle going. That's really all it is to that. You just need a bit of a hole there, and just kind of clean that out afterwards, get it all nice and neat. And you don't have to, but I think neatness counts, even though these parts will never be seen ever again once it's sealed up. But you certainly don't want craggy plastic potentially affecting your wires. So from there, that's easy enough to clean up. I also mentioned that what you'll probably want to do to get the LEDs sitting in the middle here is to take a sprue, and in the case of the glow kit, use some of the glow sprue left behind, and simply glue it alongside there. And once that's in place, any light in here is going to glow the styrene glow rod, so it won't look like there's a shadow. If you used any other color of plastic, the glow would show up as a shadow underneath on the bottom when the light comes through, so you don't want that, obviously. So whether you use one stick of sprue or two sticks, and wherever you put it on the lengthwise here, it's going to work out great for you. So the next places you need to cut are at the top of the neck, because once this is together, it will be sealed. And I said you don't want to get rid of this ledge at all. You need to keep that so it locks in. Ow, that's hot. So as you saw, all I did was press the plastic against the cutting wheel, and now we've got a good size hole there. So again, clean all that out, make it nice and smooth for the wires to travel through, and now you can pass your wiring through there. Next up, we've got these two guys here. As I said, you can just do a little hole in there, but in this case that's a really deep well. So what I'm going to do, and there we go. I just sliced the end off completely, but again, make sure you keep these welds here because you will need the pylon to seat in there still. So let me clean this a little bit out here. So you can see there's a good sized hole there. So when we pass the pylon through, that just sits at the end. Now we need a hole in this area. I'd recommend doing this after you've glued the pylon itself, but you might want to leave the nacelle open, or, as I've done here, simply tape it so it's held firmly. If this starts loosening up while you're cutting, you're in trouble. And this one requires the most precision cut you can make because you do not want to go over that line. And there is going to be a very small hole here. The wire you have should be good enough. Let's widen it up a little. Let me just try and clean this out here just a second. Oh, one thing I should have mentioned is to put your fan on and get some fume extraction going. This stuff stinks. So here we are. One nice little notch. You've still got two strong teeth on the sides to hold the piece in. If you break this off entirely, you're going to be hating yourself. You could probably get some brass, flat brass stick and put that in there to act as the counterbalance you need. But you see here, we got a nice straight sized hole. Easy to pass all the wires through, no problems. So the only other part I mentioned here was the lower hull. If you're going to use a stand, you will need a hole in here somewhere. And conveniently enough, there's these pour spouts, so you could just take a drill bit of whatever size you want and drill straight through that as a reference. The other thing you can do with the lower hull here is, with the battery clip I've given you, is put the 9-volt inside somewhere. If you don't have a stand coming through here, there's plenty of room to do this. And essentially what you would do is connect all your wires up to the battery clip that's included, drop that in there, and then simply put this on top. This should be strong enough to stay in general, but another thing you could do is get some really tiny magnets to hold that on. Put a magnet, a tiny magnet will fit perfectly in any of these spots here. All you would need to do at that point is carve out just a tiny little bit of space there and glue the magnet to the side. All you would need is one, because even a low power regular magnet will do the trick. And now that I've cut this up, maybe this will be the first Enterprise that I really truly like. We'll see. One very last final trick that I'll mention is that in the video you'll see me with this piece in particular take a bit of sprue and glue it along the inside here. Obviously I'd need a shorter bit of sprue in this case. About that long, glue that there. Glue another piece in here, but don't go too far because the hangar bay shell has to go there. You could even put a little bit right in there. And another place would be good to put it is right along the sides here. What this will do is give you a buttress for all these seams. The seams on this kit are notoriously difficult to do. And if you have some kind of backing right there, such as a sprue, you'll be able to hold those together much better. In the case of the top beam, I'd say glue this together and then put the sprue in. In the case of the side, you'll have to put the sprue in first and then attach the lower hull to that. This will really help you out. If you don't want to use sprue, you can get a little bit of flat styrene sheet and glue some lips along the inside here, and that'll work just as well. One thing to keep in mind with this trick though is that you are dealing with a curved surface. So if you put some really thick straight styrene going up here, that's going to actually prevent you from getting a good fit. If it's thinner styrene, it'll bend with the curve. And of course, as the sprue is curved, well, maybe you could actually put this in afterwards. No, probably not. You really need to do it first, I think. The one thing you would have to get rid of is these tiny little lips right there, ledges, because those will interfere with any connection that you want to do. Why they aren't any stronger? Go back 50 years and ask AMT when they originally made this kit. They just go barely above the edge here and they are not good enough to hold this seam in place. So I think that's it. Let's get back to the model.